What's up, ADOS and our allies? You know who it is. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Friends of ADOS TV channel. Angela Nirvana presents The Way I See It, family. How y'all doing? Happy Friday to you. Follow in. Start your watch parties. What's up, Edward? Thank you for joining the live. It's so good to be here with each and every one of you. I'm so grateful for your participation over here at the Friends of ADOS TV. I just, want to shout out Andrea Michelle. She was my guest yesterday representing Jamaica as a Caribbean ally. It was a very heated exchange. I was lit like I tend to be whenever ADOS is on the chopping block. I love us black and strong, and I ride hard for us. What's up, Kunta? Thank you for joining the live. And I'm very passionate about us, and I didn't mean to be screaming the whole show. I apologize for that part. But I guess I just don't get why people don't get our plight in this country and how folks are constantly trying to make it about all these other things, you see, because all distractions are equal. But Andrea and I are coming back. We're coming back because we need allies. We need to mend the fences between ADOS and our black immigrants. They need understanding, and we need understanding. I did want to clarify a couple of things. She mentioned that her son was American born, and me being opposed to Kamala on a pathway to the presidency would be like denying her son. What I intended to say, as I've expressed in my feed over at Angela Nirvana, is that we have been here for 401 years. And I do have a big disdain for people that have been here and in one generation, born of black immigrant parents, they have access to the pathway to the highest office in the land. Because I understand what that is absolutely due to. Institutional, systemic racism, which is hell-bent on tethering us to the bottom as a permanent bottom caste in this country. And so that's what I intended to say. And there is no part of me that understands why Andrea thinks it's okay in Boston, according to the Color of Wealth, that Caribbean immigrants who by and large got here after the 65 Immigration Act should be $11,300 richer in total assets than ADOS $700 in total assets, $30 more than our own liquidity in Boston. Okay, so my mind can't wrap around that. And so I was losing my stuff a little bit over there, family. I'm going to try not to cuss because I do want children to be able to come over here and be informed and understand who they are. Because we have truly been miseducated as ADOS in America. And all of our eyes have been opened up since following Yvette. I've been following Yvette Carnell Breaking Brown since 2014, and she has taught me much about politics and its relationship to me as an American descendant of chattel slavery. I am forever grateful to her for the education because it is what inspired this show. I think we need all the ADOS voices out here sounding the alarm and helping us to understand what we are owed. How else do we close the egregious racial wealth gap but for reparations and a black agenda, right? It's not that we don't like Harris, but we don't like her politics. Absolutely. It's not that we don't like Harris. We do not like her politics. We do not like her atrocious record against ADOS. We do not like people that pretend to be us for our vote while telling us they don't intend to specifically do anything for our group while offering H-1B visas to her Brahmin Indian caste. It is problematic. And so when you see me going off the rails, it's because the stakes are really super high this election cycle. Sadly, our boomers and our Gen Xers have done this two-step lesser of two evil, two-step shuffle all the way down to our peril. I'd like to remind you before I get into today's topic that ADOS is $200 liquid here in Los Angeles, 90% on Skid Row, 50% of the homeless families nationwide. To Kamala's people, Asian Indians, $245,000 liquid down here. And in Boston, ADOS is $8 liquid, and in Miami, ADOS is $11 liquid. You can check that data, because we're all about the data, over at The Color of Wealth for each of those respective cities. It's a free download. So check those numbers out and just be mortified. Hopefully, being mortified will get you active within an ADOS chapter near you. The media and the government are hell-bent on what I believe to be COINTELPROing the ADOS movement, but I do want you guys to understand that we are the ones that are really driving this movement are highly educated professionals throughout this country who are here to speak for the 90% of us who don't have a voice, may not have education. Only 16% of us are educated in our particular group. So this movement, you know how they say, Malcolm said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on us. That's pretty much what happened with this movement, because we kept asking, what's the solution? What's the solution after getting all this rich education from Yvette? And we were told that we are the solution. So back in June 2017? 2018, I think it was in June when I founded one of the founding members of the ADOS SoCal chapter down here in Southern California. And it's been whirlwind ever since, meeting incredible ADOS throughout the country that are putting in work, not just for reparations and a national Black agenda, but also for local appropriations, right? Down here in California, we've got the SB 3121, I think it's SB, forgive me if I screwed AB, I may have screwed up the numbers, but anywho, we have a bill that's about to hit the governor's desk for reparations for California, for ADOS specifically. We also are locally on the ballot this election cycle. We're fighting for affirmative action, which we've gotten a huge pushback on the idea of affirmative action, which was taken away in '96. So the Asians are up in arms and they are a no to affirmative action because they know it makes us whole. They want all that entitlement for education and jobs. They want an exclusive on that. They don't want to have to share any of the profitability down here in LA. And as a result of affirmative action being dismantled in '96, we have gone as a group from 16 to 6% down here in Los Angeles, as the immigrant groups have grown and grown and grown, and they make significantly more than us with respect to median income and with respect to self-worth. And the last thing we have that is going to hit the ballot is for ex-felons to have their rights to vote restored. So we are busy, 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 busy. And if you want to get involved, you can reach out to me at ADOS SoCal 1619 at Gmail. Let me know where you're heralding from, and I can put you in touch with a chapter in your city. But with that said, family, I don't want to detain you long. I do want to get into the topic of today. Many people constantly want to say that ADOS is not making demands. Well, what do you want? What do you want? You know, and this is every election cycle, right? Let me help you with something. Every election cycle, we are making demands. ADOS is fairly new, but every election cycle, Black folks are making demands to help us come up off the bottom of this Titanic. And those demands are ignored. We get the door closed on us. I mean, even when Obama was in office, he wouldn't even entertain doing anything specifically for us. One of the reasons I believe we are just being killed, just, you know, I mean, it's open season, is because he signed Blue Lives Matter, which is called the Blue Alert Law. Look it up. Blue Lives Matter overdoing anything. Him nor Eric Holder did nothing. Susan Rice, they did nothing to help protect our lives. Okay, as I told you guys before, being poor and ADOS makes you a target in this country. Okay, so that is why we're fighting for reparations, so that each of us will have the capacity to finally become American citizens. While both parties are more invested in the billionaire class and ensuring that immigrants drown us out. They want to get enough immigrants in this country to not even need our vote. That's what the push is for. And so, you know, ADOS is split. I mean, I personally am voting top of ticket, Green Party, Democratic down ballot. But there are many Black folks that are changing over to Trump because they understand that when you open the floodgates on the immigrant piece, we're the ones that catch hell from that. It suppresses our wages and pushes us out of employment. And as goes California, so goes the nation. Hispanics are already 52 million to our 35 million. And the Democrats want to give Hispanics more access to American citizenship without making us whole. They want to bring in 11 more million Hispanics to give them access to the capital that is due us, to the opportunities that are due us. Okay, class-based policies don't fix race. I've told you guys this on several shows. Does ADOS have a PAC or a super PAC? Well, that's a little tricky. Friends of ADOS has a super PAC. You can visit us at friendsofados.com, but the name will be changing because Yvette said that she doesn't believe we're ready for a super PAC. I don't know how we grow without one. I mean, the whole goal is to put ADOS for ADOS in Congress. And right now, please visit Tamara for Georgia.com. I'll type it into the chat momentarily. She is our only ADOS running for the Georgia U.S. Senate seat, and she could use your dollars and your dials. Tamara for Georgia.com. Please visit her right now. So yes, we do have a super PAC, but it's not associated with the movement. It is a super PAC that myself and Marlon Aldridge out of Dayton, Ohio co-founded in order for us to start raising money so that we could back our candidates on the local, state, and national levels. Once we can get them into office, we can be repaired. Right now, they're really playing around with our reparations, signing on board. Thank you for that question, Edward. Yeah, they're really playing games. This HR 40 has no teeth in it. And that's why you see, you know, since the push from ADOS, of course, they're climbing all atop of that. Because it has no teeth in it, they see that they won't lose anything by offering the current study. But ADOS has been putting in work. We have edits by Dr. Darity that they are really resisting entertaining. So we've got a whole campaign called Fix HR 40. You've got NCOBRA and NARC who want to give our reparations to all Blacks in this country. When many of the Blacks that come here, especially African Blacks, descend from money already. Down here in Los Angeles, Our median income as ADOS is 53.5 compared to African immigrants, 115,000. So, for them to try to, crowbar their way into our reparations discussion, it's no wonder that it sat for 30 years collecting dust, because that's all it did until that ADOS put in that work. Okay. What's up, Chinetta Lynn? Did I miss something? Why didn't we support the march in Washington? Well, shout out to ADOS DMV. The mayor of DC put out a 14-day quarantine. Now, Yvette and Tone were opposed to us marching, but I was on a committee with the DMV and Triangle ADOS. Did I miss anybody? We were pushing to get ADOS there, and we had so much momentum until the wind was knocked out of our sails. The mayor decided to put us in quarantine for 14 days before we could march. And if throughout that march, the police stop you and you can't prove that you did your 14-day quarantine with an out-of-state license from what they consider high-risk states, California being one of them. Most of the states in the country were high risk. There were very few that made the cut, but none of us could afford to go to DC, quarantine, and then march. I was going in there with my daughter just for this weekend, and it was a spectacular event that we had the day before. We were supposed to be marching yesterday to get all the attention on the ADOS movement, and we were really building momentum, raising money, and when the mayor did that, it shut our efforts down. So it's more grassroots right now. They're out there. I don't know if they're still out there because it's rather late. I'll be doing a show, only about 10 ADOS. There may have been more, but last count when I checked in with one of our ADOS leaders from the DMV, she said there were about 10 people out there for ADOS specifically. So I'm going to have Tansy on for a show to talk about what happened at the march, because I couldn't, just like the conventions, I couldn't even watch the stage performance they were putting on. I mean, they were really going in on this churchy kind of stuff, and it's no wonder why the youth have left the church. Jamal Bryant, of all people, to my understanding, he's had affairs and misgivings with people in the church and so on and so forth. And everybody wants to reinvent Martin. We need something brand new, like a fight for reparations. We don't need for you to do this kind of dog and pony show and not make it about the real issue, which is we can't afford to be American. And when you can't afford to be American, it makes you a target. So we are now going back to the drawing board to come up with our own reparations march. So stay tuned for more information on that, okay? Thank you, Kunta, so much for being my keyboard warrior. You were there, Dud. Not saw. You didn't see, Chinetta, you didn't see any ADOS shirts? Oh, no. Hold on. Uh-oh. Thank you, Kunta, for that. Chinetta, you didn't see any ADOS shirts? That's crazy to me. They were out there. Like I said, they were so few in number, you may have missed them, darling. I don't know. Well, maybe that's wild. Well, maybe you could type in here while I read the ADOS 101 to the audience. Maybe you can type what the experience was like for you, and I can put your comments up. But anywho, family, let me jump to the topic at hand. Folks are wondering, well, what are you asking for? Y'all ain't asked for nothing. Oh, yes, we have, and it's very rich. And, like I was saying that the bottom line is what I saw of the march was just dog and pony show. I couldn't sit through it. It was just such a spectacle. All of these kind of weak reform things to try to keep the police from government-sanctioned executions of ADOS people. We need to dismantle qualified immunity. These cops need to be charged. They need to be arrested. They need to go to jail or get the death penalty. And we also need to dismantle the private prisons, because that's the new slavery. If you're not talking about that, you're not talking about anything real when it comes to keeping these racist cops from executing us with impunity. So the reparations march is in the planning stages. Stay tuned for more information on that. Before I forget, Facebook doesn't allow me to promote more than 7 days out through StreamYard anyway. And so I do want to make you guys aware of my next book club read. You guys need to get these books. And I know it's a lot because, well, the bottom line is I am trying to get you guys primed for the upcoming election, and I'm trying to teach you about what you're owed. And so I've got two books. One that I want you guys to have read by I want to say October 2nd. Hold on one second. Let me look it up real quick. This woman, Isabel Wilkerson. One of the books is called Caste, C-A-S-T-E. That's to be read by November 6th. We're going to dig into that book for that show. But there's another book also that I want you guys to pick up that we're going to explore on October 2nd. So it gives you guys a month each with the book before we actually do our show. But it's the same author. I got to get to the title real quick. Pick these books up. October 2nd. This is a part of my Miseducation of ADOS in America book club series, okay? Let me get to it real quick. Hold on, fam. Okay. The Warmth of Other Suns. The Warmth of Other Suns. Pick up that book. It is the epic story of America's Great Migration. Okay? That's by Isabel Wilkerson. It documents 6 million ADOS who migrated from the South to the North, Midwest, and out West. And I mean to tell you, it is just rich. You need to understand what we went through for our freedoms, and we still not free. You need to understand the threat that recruiting us from the South, because there was an initiative. I mean, back in the Gap, they got about 25,000, about the same amount they now get for prison beds. Okay, Biden's law and all this carrying on pays the state 25,000 per bed, and that's why they're arresting us just for any minor offense. A lot of nonviolent offenders are in prison because they can't afford bail and they can't afford representation that's not in the pocket of the prison population, okay? So everybody's bought and paid for it at the expense of ADOS. So back in the Gap, they paid them $25,000 to go down and bring blacks up to the North to suppress the wages. This was before unions. We were being used to suppress wages and take jobs from other immigrants and whites. Well, I don't know about immigrants, but at least white folks. In the same way the other immigrant groups are being brought over to this country to suppress ADOS. So they used us to suppress white folks, and now they're using immigrants to suppress ADOS. This book is powerful. That read will be on October 2nd, okay? And the second book is called Caste. It's a C-A-S-T-E, and it deals with Martin Luther King Jr. having gone to India and placed himself amidst what they are termed Dalits. I've already showed you guys on Angela Nirvana, that pyramid, how Kamala ascends. She's a descendant of Brahmin caste at the very top of the pyramid. That's white. Dalits on the bottom. These are considered the untouchables of India. And when Dr. Martin Luther King went over there to visit, he came away heavy-hearted because he made the correlation between the caste system in India and the caste system of America, and ADOS are the Dalits. We are the bottom caste of this pyramid in this country, And it is our job as the ADOS movement to fight to prevent from becoming the permanent underclass in the country our ancestors built with their lives. So with that said, let me dig in. I have a little bit of reading to do. I hope to get you out of here in under an hour. If you have questions or comments, type it in the chat. I'm over in my notes in a Word document, so I can't see the chat right now, but I will revisit it, leave enough time at the end of the show to revisit that, okay? We might go a few minutes over. We're at 6:25. So, Black Agenda. As a specific group with a specific justice claim, the ADOS movement demands a specific agenda with policy prescriptions that address the losses stemming from the institution of slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, convict leasing, mass incarceration, and immigration. Me speaking. You see, they're trying to give us more symbolism in exchange for our vote. You see them trying to use the only commodity we've got, our vote, to unseat Trump, whom they placed into office, okay? So we are demanding tangibles. We are demanding reparations, conservatively around 17 trillion over multi-generations. And we're demanding this Black agenda that I'm reading to you now. And this is what we're willing to exchange for our vote. We're no longer, feeling it necessary to show up and save everyone else while everybody else goes off into the sunset comfortable with their salaries, with their net worth, with their wealth. Our wealth, okay, all the wealth in this country is a byproduct of our heinous chattel slave labor, the worst of its kind to the born world. But everybody else is eating from that table that we're the legs of. So we are breaking the chain of this lesser to evil two-step shuffle all the way to our peril. You can't get any lower than ADOS. Well, I guess you can get lower. You can be homeless. But the bottom line is this election cycle is where it stops until the Democrats come to their senses and understand that voting is an exchange, and you will not make everyone American before making ADOS American. So they will be dealing with this kind of revolution at the ballot box until they come to their senses. We're fully prepared to allow and afford Trump a chance to win the top of the ticket if that's how it washes out, and deliver a Democratic Congress to gridlock government for the next 4 years while we continue to drive the point home for reparations. That is what the ADOS movement is on. That is what we teach. You can put anything at the top of that ticket. I'm going Green Party. Some folks are writing in ADOS. Some folks are writing in Trump. Some folks are writing in Libertarian. Some folks ain't even showing up, but we need you to show up because that Democratic Congress is necessary to protect the 42% of us that depend on social services and depend on government by design, okay, through institutional systemic racism. We need to be able to protect what they currently receive, which is, I don't even know how much it could be now under COVID. We just need to enable them to be able to protect that group. Like I said, 42% of ADOS rely on government aid. So we need to be able to protect their interests while we continue to fight for the reparations and fight to get candidates elected on every level of office. ADOS for ADOS. That's what we need to be doing. And if we gridlock the system, nothing can get done for the next 4 years. We're fully prepared to do that. And they've got time, right? Biden and Kamala have got time to come up with a real solution for ADOS. Because when you look at Joe Biden's site anyway, I haven't gotten a chance to unpack Kamala's offerings to ADOS, it's a nothing burger. But when you go to Biden's site, you will see how robust he speaks about the immigrants, how he intends to get things accomplished within the first 100 days. No timelines has been appropriated to the fluff, okay, that he's spinning over there for ADOS. And I have a show that is archived. You can fish that out over at YouTube at Friends of ADOS TV, or you can fish it out at Facebook. And I go in on everything that he is offering ADOS and the contradictions in it. Okay. Anywho, moving on. We demand a New Deal for Black America, which includes but is not limited to. We need set-asides for American descendants of chattel slavery, not minorities, not people of color, not Black, which they flatten and throw all the groups in. Down here, we're 6%. I don't know what percentage of that is ADOS because they lumped us all together. But they broke us out for income, for wealth, for education, and housing. But you're lumping 6% of us in that number. I don't know what percent ADOS is truly down here as a result of them doing it in this way. That's by design, to keep us in confusion. Speaking of which, if you haven't filled in your census, write in ADOS and spell out American descendants of chattel slavery. The census will end at the end of September, okay? We need set-asides for American descendants of slavery, not minorities, a throwaway category which includes all groups except white men. That categorization has allowed Democrats to use programs like affirmative action as giveaways to all groups in exchange for votes. For example, white women largely benefit from affirmative action. Second to that is the immigrants. Third to that is LGBTQ. And ADOS has been wiped out of the very affirmative actions that were given to us to make us whole post-slavery. Okay, this is why we don't want no more programs. Run us that check, okay? We don't want anything that they can give with the left and take away with the right and give away to other groups. The gate is up. Anyway, back to my text. The bribery must end. That begins with the new designation on the census with ADOS and another for Black immigrants. Because Black immigrants, me speaking, are masking our failure here. Like I said on yesterday's show, Caribbean immigrants in Boston have 12,000 in total assets to ADOS 700. And we are 90% of the Blacks in this country. It may be fewer by now because so many more have gained access to the country, especially the ones with money. They turn you away if you're Black and poor. But the color of white in this country is green. Understand that. So when you come over here with money and education, you get to climb right over top of ADOS, whom they tethered to the bottom. Okay, by design. Institutional systemic racism is how we got here. Black immigrants should be barred from accessing affirmative action and other set-asides intended for ADOS, as should Asians, Latinos, white women, and other minority groups. In addition, ADOS hiring and employment data must be demanded for all businesses receiving tax credits, incentives, and governmental support, as well as all governmental agencies, national, state, and local. It is our belief that this will show that there are minimal, if any, ADOS professionals in fields including but not limited to engineering, medical, legal, and tech. As Kamala and Joe want to give H-1B visas to Brahmin Indians who are educated over there to have access to American citizenship over you, ADOS, through the H-1B visas, tech jobs. So take away education from the hood, take away jobs from the hood, take away lending for housing and businesses from the hood. Bring in more immigrants. Give them all this stuff to be like you, our oppressors, and let ADOS perish. That's what the Democrats have waiting for you if you continue to vote this lesser to evil without demanding reparations and a Black agenda in exchange for your vote. Wait for it. It's coming. We're studied over in the ADOS movement. We can read the tea leaves because we know the data. Okay? Once affirmative action is streamlined as a government program only, and specifically for ADOS, the program should be fully instituted. Once again, the ADOS here in California had to fight to get affirmative action on the ballot. Okay? And we had more Asians call in to the state hearings to oppose it than we had ADOS calling in. This is the work that has to be done, family. Find a chapter near you and get involved. Otherwise, all of what is intended for your children will be in the hands of whites and immigrants. Trust and believe me when I tell you, boo-boos. It's coming for you. Okay? I'm continuing this two-step lesser two evil shuffle all the way to our peril. That's exactly what you're doing when you continue to support the Democrats. And ain't nothing scarier than ADOS being beggars in this country. Trump is not as scary as those facts. Trump is not as scary as ADOS being beggars in the country their ancestors built with their lives. As a matter of fact, nobody can even tell me what he's done specifically to ADOS, akin to the author of the '94 crime bill and Cali's top cop, close to 1 million black men in jail, in prison, more than all the women jailed throughout the born world. So nobody can tell me that. And don't sit up here and say, well, you know, we're being executed. Yeah, we were executed under Obama. He gave us Blue Lives Matter. Look it up. The Blue Alert Law. Anywho, moving on. The Supreme Court decided wrongly when it gutted the Voting Rights Act. As the Atlanta Journal-Constitution article, "It's time to solve the mystery of the 100,000 mystery votes," indicates, the protections outlined in the Voting Rights Act are essential to protecting the rights of ADOS in America. Reinstituting the protections of the Voting Rights Act is a key part of our agenda. Forgive me, family. It is very hot down here in SoCal, so I have to mop my face on occasion to take the shine off. Forgive me, family. It's not cute. It's not cute to see me mop. We don't have AC. I live by the ocean. I'm used to it having a breeze. But I think I'm going to invest in one of those portable ACs. This summer has been a little brutal. 100 degrees, 110 degrees. It's been off the chain. Anywho, moving on. Black businesses only receive 1.7% of the $23.09 billion in total SBA loans under, guess who? Y'all's Jesus Obama. 1.7% of the $23.09 billion. Okay? After having previously received 8.2% under President George Bush. Succeeding as an entrepreneur requires capital. For all you out here telling ADOS to pull themselves up by their bootless straps. For all you out here pretending with this fantastical idea that we can just form businesses by thinking them into existence. Anywho, so our agenda demands that 15% of small business administration loans be distributed to ADOS businesses. We seek a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure plan targeted to ADOS communities, including but not limited to the Black Belt, Flint, Michigan. A Reuters exam published in 2016 found 3,000 cities with poisoning rates higher than Flint. And I bet your bottom dollar, ADOS is red line into those environmentally hazardous communities and buildings. Which is why we're dying disproportionately from COVID. Which is why we have the disproportionate number of cases of COVID. When you have no money for health care and you're red line into environmental wastelands, you perish as a people. And then there's an extra strain on those of us who are unicorns now. You're a unicorn if you're making, over 50K. You are a unicorn. That's not what's happening with the majority of our people. Then you become their reparations. Or watch your family perish. And I don't know for the life of me why some boomers and some Gen Xers are signing their children and grandchildren up to eat the cost of slavery and continuing this lesser two evil two-step shuffle to our own peril. It's rather disgusting and disappointing because you benefited from all the entitlements. I border boomer. Okay? I border. I'm a Gen Xer. So I know both sides. I know when things were great for me, and I know institutional systemic racism down here in Southern California. I watched all of Wells Fargo get rid of all Black upper-level management and replace us with Hispanics on all the levels within that private sector. Down here, we are probably 6%. Once again, well, I don't know if that number is flattened. We're about 6% of the private sector to Kamala's people, 35% of the private sector. To African immigrants, about 30% of the private sector. Hispanics, I think, are 30% of them, okay, of the group, private sector. When you go to interviews out here, you have no social capital at those tables. Okay, I interviewed for a six-figure position within the confines of what I currently do. A Hispanic woman invited me. There was a white man and a white woman. The white woman was her superior, and then there was a white man in the interview. And it took about a month. I finally ran into her in court, and I asked, well, what happened? She told me her white superior, the white woman, wanted to continue looking, even though I was the most qualified and the most educated of all the candidates that had come through for the position. That's what's happening to ADOS all throughout the country. All throughout the country. Another really good friend of mine was earning around $200K a year. She was replaced by a white gay male. Then they offered her an independent contract position. And she turned it down. You're slashing my income and making me an independent contractor after making, building up your business and $200K in salary. So she went to a law firm and procured work there. And when it came time for a promotion to be the manager of this particular unit in the industry in which I currently work, she's got a law degree, an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, and 20 years of experience. I think she was like in her mid to late 50s, early 60s. They gave that managerial position, that supervisor position, to a white girl around mid-30. Y'all keep playing with this vote if you want to. Y'all keep signing up for these Democrats and keep doing this lesser do evil two-step shuffle all the way to your peril. It's time for a third party. I highly recommend you look into the Green Party. Chris Hedges was on the Jimmy Dore show talking about the Green Party. And I say it's a place for ADOS to start investing research and going in there and taking the party over. Right now, Angela Walker, a trucker, she's a truck driver, single mom. She's on that VP ticket. She's running for VP. She's ADOS. Not somebody pretending to be ADOS for our vote. Y'all need to get over to the Green Party, gp.org. Kunta, if you could type that in for me, my keyboard warrior, if you're still over there, I would greatly appreciate it. Or any of my loves, gp.org. You better check them out, and we need to coalesce and get them top a ticket, Democratic down ballot. That's what I'm doing henceforth. As long as they got reparations on there, that's what I'll be doing. And they have reparations on there. You need to check them out. It's time for a third party. I'm with Chris Hedges. Moving on. Oh my God. Okay. I'm a chatty Cathy. I was born to talk. Can you tell? Okay. Mass incarceration. Did I read this part? The Justice Department is also institute. Oh, let me go back to this one, make sure I did this part. Okay, residents of majority ADOS areas that have been poisoned under the federal, local. I'm sorry, guys. I got to talking and lost my place. Okay, 3,000 cities with poisoning rates higher than Flint. Here we go. I don't want to miss anything. You could, Kunta, or one of my loves, if you could write in ADOS101.com, they can go back and review this at their leisure. I know life gets so busy. I'm an avid reader. I love books. This is why I am doing my Miseducation of the ADOS in America with 3Ks book club series, because it's going to force me to do what I love to do, which is read. We need to do more of that. We need to slow our lives down and get off of the YouTubes, and we got to get off the television, get off the Netflix, and pick up a book. So I'm driving myself in that way as I'm driving you, okay? That's going to make us unstoppable. Reading makes you unstoppable. I was just telling my daughter that earlier. Anywho, residents of majority ADOS areas that have been poisoned under the federal, local, and state government's watch, such as not only Flint, Michigan, but Denmark, South Carolina, and others, must be financially compensated for the benign neglect of the EPA and the government in general. The Justice Department must also institute protections which exact heavy fines and federal criminal prosecution for future offenders. Mass incarceration has wreaked havoc on Black American families. The government has been complicit in oppressing us in all these maladies that we're currently demanding reciprocity for, okay? They have been instrumental in why we are here, Democrats and Republicans alike. I don't expect anything from Republicans. But when you've been the mule of the Democratic Party for 55, 60 years, you are in a position to make demands and weaponize your vote. It is not our job to undo their silliness by voting Trump into office. And like I said, y'all have yet to tell me what he has done more egregious than locking up 1 million Black men in this country. And when I can hear that, destroying whole communities. When I can hear that, you know, it ain't gonna change nothing I'm doing, but you can at least tell me beyond he's mean and a racist. That would, kind of stimulate me on an intellectual level. This nonsense y'all be on, not the movement. We're on our square, and that's where we live, and we're trying to teach the rest of you to get on the square with us and break the back of the establishment. America as we know it must fall, and it's up to ADOS to cripple it. It's up to us to cut down the tall trees. Anywho, I digress. By some accounts, there are literally more Black males in prison than all women are incarcerated on the planet. To give context, there are 20 million Black males, and they largely descend from slavery. While there are 4 billion women globally, both groups producing the same number of incarcerated. The reinvention of slavery through the use of the 13th Amendment is chronicled by Douglas Blackman in his PBS documentary, Slavery by Another Name. If one of my loves can type that in the chat, I'd be so grateful. Slavery by Another Name, Douglas Blackman. It's a PBS documentary. It is our position this must be corrected. We demand an immediate assessment of the numbers of ADOS prison populations at the state and federal level. We also demand that there be review if punishment, bail amounts, sentence lengths, amount of time served before parole is being levied at unfairly higher levels on ADOS based on gender and race for similar crimes to other groups. We demand that there be real prison reform in the form of investment into counseling, job training, and rehabilitation for our incarcerated. And I'm demanding down with qualified immunity to immediately, if the victim of execution has no weapon, automatically fired, put the cop in jail, and make them serve time or give them the death penalty. I'm also for the communities taking control over the police that police them. I don't believe that you should, live in the best areas of town and come over to the hood and call yourself policing us. You already have inherent biases. And the FBI has already told us that white supremacists throughout the country run the police departments. So why are they in our communities? You should live amongst us and be one of us to police us. What else am I for? Dismantling. Private prisons have to go. If you got the author of the crime bill, 94 crime bill, and Cali's top cop not talking about undoing private prisons, they're not for real about reform. It is profitable. Kamala told the governor when she was AG and the jails were overcrowded with nonviolent offenders to let them go. She told him no. She needed them to work for $2 an hour to put out the fires in the hills of the white homes. William Dickens, one of my guests from Triangle ADOS, shared about being a sharecropper and just being so poor he started dealing drugs, got arrested, did a 10-year bid. When he was released, the same state that hired him for work at $1 a day, oh, it wasn't $2 an hour out here, it's $2 a day, forgive me. The same system, the same state that used him for $1 a day would not hire him for $30 an hour. They told him to go back to jail if he wanted to continue working for the state at $1 a day. But y'all want to vote for the author of the 94 crime bill and Cali's top cop, not the ADOS movement. Y'all got us mixed all the way up. We're not doing that anymore. This is when it stops. We're saving our children and our grandchildren. Shout out to the movement. Join us if this is making sense to you. It is because I'll be doing this practically every day up until election. Okay. And I'm all up and down my feed destroying neoliberalism. America as we know it must fall. I won't have a show tomorrow. I'm turning up for my birthday. My birthday's Tuesday. Happy birthday to me. I'm so excited. Yes, I love birthdays. I love Christmas. I love any holiday. Just give me a reason to turn up. But I won't have a show this Saturday. I'll be back with Presidential on Sunday. We've got 2 more presidents to explore. We've got James Monroe and John Quincy Adams in this book, Presidential. This is Sunday at 6 o'clock. I'll be reading to you guys story time because you guys aren't reading the book, but I like to comment in between anyway. So we're doing that on Sunday. I think Monday I have a show. Tuesday is my actual birthday. We'll see if my daughter decides to spoil me on Tuesday as to whether or not I'll have an evening show, but you'll be kept apprised of my schedule. I'm just here to break the back of the establishment. That's my job. I'm standing on my square and I'm leveraging getting this information out to you guys so you can make an informed decision about what you're signing the ADOS up for when you continue this 2-step lesser 2 evil shuffle all the way to our peril. You need to know. It is our position this must be corrected. We demand an immediate assessment of the numbers of the ADOS prison populations at the state and federal level. We also demand that there be review. Oh, I did that part. We demand that there be a real, okay, I did that part. Let me jump down. Sorry, guys. I lose my place sometimes. I'm almost done. Hold on. In the early 80s, America committed to strengthen the capacity of historically Black colleges and universities to provide quality education. In Executive Order 12320, President Obama undermined that commitment with changes to the PLUS loan requirements. We called for legislation to triple the current federal allotment to HBCUs. Schools like Georgetown, built by slaves, have an endowment of over $1 billion. This is a transfer of wealth from ADOS to whites. Our agenda, let me stop there. As would be Bernie Sanders' plan to eliminate all educational debt. If we're only 16% and 95% of white folks are educated, that might be a stretch. Who is it going to benefit if he erases student loan debt? And they certainly have higher degrees of education than we do. Come on now. Open up your eyes. Get politically educated. We called for legislation to okay, we did that part. Schools like, okay, hold on. Our agenda demands that the federal government fully endow our remaining HBCUs in a dollar amount that meets the budgetary needs of each institution. In addition, ADOS students who attend HBCUs should receive a discount in the form of a 75% tax credit, given that our inability to pay the rising cost of education is directly tied to the racial wealth gap coming from slavery. As I've mentioned in past shows, white folks share 100 trillion to ADOS 700 billion. No other way to close the egregious racial wealth gap than reparations. ADOS who choose schools outside the HBCU network should receive a 50% government-funded credit. Findings published in USA Today concluded that top universities graduate ADOS in tech, but those graduates can't find jobs in Silicon Valley. Only 2% of technology workers at 7 Silicon Valley companies are Black. While Kamala prepares to grant Brahmin Indian castes who are educated to come over here under H-1B visas, while telling us she's not doing anything specifically for our group who was on the bottom. Ooh, Jesus, keep me near the fence. According to the report, and many of those, listen, only 2% of technology workers at 7 Silicon Valley companies are Black, according to the report. And many of those are Black immigrants, not ADOS. You see how they flatten back Blackness? So they can climb right over top of ADOS. 2% is bad enough. And the majority of those are Black immigrants, not ADOS. No wonder why there's such huge disparities in total assets, in liquid assets, in median income, in marriage, in home ownership, in owning businesses. But y'all just want Pan-Africanism, kumbaya, when y'all have not put the energy into fixing and repairing your own people. You got white high school dropouts able to get gainful employment over college degree Black folks. But y'all just kumbaya. And according to a study by Rutgers professor Hal Salzman, American colleges graduate more tech workers than tech companies need. Hence, the H-1B program reduces opportunities for ADOS searching for careers in technology. The government must strictly limit the number of H-1B visa workers, tech companies that flow in each year. And workers. Audit the banks to see if there are patterns of racial discrimination in lending and require these banks to extend loans to ADOS businesses. These banks receive bailout from taxpayers and owe a debt to all taxpayers, regardless of race. In addition, banks such as Wells Fargo use predatory schemes historically, not just during the Great Recession, to eviscerate Black wealth. Lending to Black businesses and institutions would be a beginning for banks to redress the harm they've caused to the ADOS community. Mandate that the government's advertising budget include Black media. There is no ADOS community without our own media. Incentivize, let me read that again. There is no ADOS community without our own media. Why do you think we've turned off the Clinton News Network, corporate media? That nonsense they're spinning has nothing to do with ADOS and everything to do with keeping ADOS as sheeple. That I get my news from YouTube. Yeah, because real Black media is not represented there. Joanne Reed ain't ADOS. Roland Martin ain't ADOS. They put Black immigrants in there to undermine ADOS's efforts. Joanne Reed called us Russian bots. right-wing Trump supporters, and the list goes on. They talked against our reparations until some of these celebrities started echoing it. Now they'll listen, but they have worked to COINTELPRO us. That's why you don't see us in the major news channels, and that's why we go to the YouTube to get real ADOS politics. Okay? Incentivized through legislative action that all major companies spend 10% of their advertising budget with ADOS media in exchange for tax credits. In addition, mandate that 10% of government advertising for governmental agencies, armed forces, and other ancillary programs go to majority ADOS-owned media companies. ADOS college debt, should be forgiven in the same way losses were forgiven for the banks on Wall Street. Those executives oversaw the evaporation of billions in global wealth. ADOS graduates bought into the idea that the key to success in life was an education, and there was a place for us in America, only to find after graduation that we were locked out. We cannot afford to bear the burden of the lies. Healthcare credit to pay for medical coverage for all ADOS. This would cover surgery, pharmaceutical, and counseling needs. As an example, we would like to see a lineage therapy where ADOS leadership, in cooperation with licensed therapists and psychiatrists, develop a therapy curriculum to help members of the ADOS understand and manage their ancestral traumas, which have been many. Pick up those books I told you guys about in the early top of the show. You're going to be blown away. This therapy should come at no cost to the ADOS community. And they should be ADOS therapists. That the government should pay for their training and their education. America has never atoned for its original sin of slavery in the form of reparations. It is our position that H.R. 40 be fully rewritten to include reference to ADOS as the recipient group. Right now, they're trying to crowbar immigrants into our H.R. 40, and this is why we're insisting that it be fully rewritten. And this is why they're signing up for it, because they're signing up for a study that doesn't include ADOS. Those are your Democrats. H.R. 40 be fully rewritten to include reference to ADOS as the recipient group. Cash payments needs to be included. Right now, no cash payments in that H.R. 40. And additional supportive measures implemented. We need to gather the data on the level of wealth that was lost as a direct result of slavery and the era of Jim Crow that followed. The paper, The Economics of Reparations, assessed the value today as Professor Sandy Garrity Jr., a leading economist and premier scholar on the area of American reparations, and Donia Frank have illustrated using the work of Vedder, Galloway, and Klingeman, the gains in wealth to white Southerners from ownership of blacks in 1859 was $3.2 million. In today's dollars, the value of that debt is estimated to be somewhere between $5 to $10 trillion, depending upon the interest rate used for compounding purposes. Back to this other scholar's work on United Shades of America, which Yvette recently appeared on. I think that was PBS. This particular scholar said, based on 11 cents per hour, he just dealt with slavery and got to 19 trillion. He said based on 11 cents per hour, compounded at a modest conservative 3% annually, he came up with 19 trillion. That was just for slavery. He hadn't even calculated Jim Crow and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage. And that is why we need to withhold our vote from the Democrats at the top of the ticket. If all of ADOS collectively did that, don't you think by 2024 we might actually get our reparations? They will be glad to sing that and ring that alarm, and everybody will be offering reparations if we weaponized our vote this election cycle. Because if we don't, we're done. We're done in this country. 100 trillion to 700 billion. The only way to close that egregious racial wealth gap is to give ADOS $50 trillion over multi-generations. That's my number. Anywho, ADOS demands that there be a real review of direct payouts needed to be made to eligible recipients from gathered data and progress be made toward making ADOS families whole. Without these measures being instituted, ADOS are locked out of the country our ancestors built during chattel slavery. Without reforms through transformative government, we will be left to continue living a third world life in a first world country. ADOS, we are here. Okay, so let's see here. What does my lovely co-host, my audience, my viewers have to say? Let's just see. Okay. Moving down. There was many speakers. Charnetta said about the march today on Washington. There were many speakers. We could not get a speaker for ADOS. National Action Network, when we were attempting to get a voice on that stage, would not return our calls or our emails. We tried. Oh, my love. This is an ally. Hi, Ricky. He's Mexican, Hispanic. Cass, great book. Awesome. Okay, so he's ready. Thank you for joining the live, Ricky. I love you. The sad but true. Chinetta, 50% of the homeless are Black. Of the homeless families in the nation are Black? It's probably more than that by now since COVID. Understand that the numbers I've been citing from the Color of Wealth are like between 2000 and 2014 during the era of Bush and Obama. I would venture to say it's even worse now since the COVID, but anyhow. 50% of the homeless are Black. Are we going to demand that Kamala and Biden do what ADOS want in the first 100 days in office? We've been making demands of them. Sure we have. Are they listening? No. They are replacing our vote with Republicans and immigrants. What's up, Eklako? Thank you for joining the live. Hi. Okay, I'm almost done, family. I didn't mean to show that. I'm trying to scroll. What about, Chinetta asks, what about a presidential candidate that supports reparations, a candidate that we write in? Green Party, top a ticket. Go over to gp.org. They are offering reparations there. And yeah, that's Howie Hawkins, who is an environmentalist, and ADOS, Angela Walker, who is VP. Angela Walker, she is a VP. She's running on the VP ticket. She's a truck driver, ADOS, and she's a single mom. We love you, sis. Oh, Kunta. You know I love y'all Black and strong. Check the red line maps online. Yeah, that's what we can do. That's a whole nother show. I am 53. I seen it too. Yeah, so you border boomer and Gen X. You not only have seen it, you may have experienced it. I've experienced it. Green Party, Chris Hedges and Angela Walker. No, Chris Hedges is, oh my God, he is everything. He is an author and scholar. He's not running on that ticket. No, Chris Hedges was on the Jimmy Dore show that I watched earlier. He is talking about the desperate need for a third party, and he mentioned Green Party as that third party. He supported Jill Stein, as did I, the last election cycle. She was a doctor running for president. And you got to check it out. gp.org is so humane. It's so lovely. It's so inclusive of everyone. Everyone. They've thought of everyone over there. Check them out. That's who I'm voting for, top of ticket, Democratic down ballot, because I don't think they're on the ballots in every state. So you have to check that too. But we're trying to get them to 5% so that they can be on the ballot in every state henceforth. I say get them to 10%. So that 5% will be guaranteed. Okay. Let's see here. Kunta. I seen that documentary. Oh, you did? Oh, child, I can't wait to see it. Thank you, Kunta, for being my keyboard warrior. Slavery by Another Name is a documentary Chinetta is referring to that she saw on PBS. Kunta, Douglas Blackman. Thank you. That is, yes, Douglas Blackman's documentary on PBS, Slavery by Another Name. It's your birthday. Hey, happy 35th birthday. God knows I love you for that, baby. I'll be the big 5'4". Oh! Get old for what, family? Get old for what? Get older, but you don't have to get old. God has promised you long life. Take care of the temple. And you too can look 35 at 54. Okay, Chinetta Lynn, not ADOS. I don't know what that means. Kunta, black men are 36% of the prison population in Milwaukee. Oh my God. Is that all? Kunta says black men are 36% of the prison population in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. More than half the working age of black men are in prison in Milwaukee. That's where Jacob Blake was shot 7 times to the back. That's what they're doing to ADOS all over the country. Locking us up and executing us. And they're coming for the poor. I don't see all that mayhem on my block. My neighborhood has been gentrified. Many of you that can afford the luxury of watching this show don't have that going on in your neighborhood. But far too many of us are experiencing that in our neighborhoods. What's up, Dr. Gibson? Thank you for joining the line. I agree that we should maintain the Democratic House for 2020. However, we need to make 2022 the year that we start removing some of these Congressional Black Caucus members. Absolutely. Visit friendsofADOS.com. The name is changing, but visit it now and let's start building. Listen, without money in politics, you're on the menu, not at the table. She's absolutely right. It's time to get rid of these do-nothings in the CBC with folks who are full-chested about our repair. Also visit DamaraForGeorgia.com and pour money and love into her and make dials for her if you don't have money. Chris Hedges did try to run for an office, but he rescinded his campaign since he could not be in the media if he wants to run. I understand his dilemma. Lots of people are telling me to run for office, but they'll weaponize the truth that I espouse in this space against me, and I don't want to go through that. I'd rather keep telling the truth. So I get his dilemma. Okay. Anywho, family, that's our time. Oh, an hour 12. I did it. Well, not really. A little bit over, but hey, I thank you guys for watching. I thank you guys for sharing. I thank you guys for reconsidering this lesser two evil two-step shuffle to our peril. Share, share, share. Okay? I love y'all black and strong. Let me pray us out. I like to put a covering over us because it gives me peace of mind. But if you don't want prayer, bye-bye, peace. For those of you who love my covering because I remind you of who you are, let me share with you, darlings, loves, that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you wherever ADOS and its allies are. God truly is, because guess what, family? You are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until Sunday, family, Prudential, get your books. It'll be story time. They're very short chapters, but they talk about all the cruelty from all the presidents, from George Washington through Trump, that have so many misgivings against ADOS. It's time for us to revolt, and the time is now. Pick up your book. I'll see you guys Sunday at 6. Until you guys go out here and act like you know who you are, and you make it a beautiful God-inspired rest of your evening. Peace.